Any man died of a big disease.
It's the greatest of all time. Argue with me if you want. I mean, you guys love to argue with me anyway. The greatest of all time. Prince died 10 years ago on April 21st. Figured I'd opened up with the actual version this time and hope I don't get slapped in the hand instead of doing the Muse version, which I love too. But Prince is incredible. It's just incredible. You catch me on a day, it's either David Bowie or Prince for me. It really depends. That's it. What is going on? It is America Unplugged, and no Tony Arterburn today. He's over at the Bitcoin conference, schooling people. But we brought in the reinforcements, ladies and gentlemen, and I am still joined by the legendary Don Jeffries. Tell them what's up, sir. How are you?
Good to see you guys. Good to see Ashley and John. New voices here, familiar voices. Crazy world, and all we can do is try to make some kind of sense of it.
Right, absolutely. We're going to talk about a bunch of the crazy stuff going on. Mr. John Brissom, look at him. Look at this guy. He took cue from last week and how we're super fashionable and cleaned up. Look at him. The beard is gone. The head is fully shaven, sparkly, shiny. Still from the kill shed, but you know, it's a totally different presentation of Black Trump himself, John Brisson. What's up, brother? How are you?
Thank you, Young Kennedy. Not fully shaven on top. It just appears that way because of the light in the shed. But yeah, I'm glad to be here as always. Good to see you, Don. Good to see you, Ashley. And crazy times we're living in. Times we're living in.
And of course, we got Ashley from Knights of the Storm. Think, Change, Repeat, the whole deal. She's got a lot of stuff going on. How are you, Ashley? Welcome back to America Unplugged. Always happy to have you. What's going on?
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you people today. And yeah, it is crazy times. So I'm looking forward to the conversation to maybe help me suss a little bit of this out, that I'm still, I'm paying attention every day. I'm puzzling over it every day. And I still don't really know what's actually going on.
Right. Nobody does, I don't think. Gardner Goldsmith is in the chat. What is going on, sir? I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, man. I got to hit you up and say what's going on. Little John is in the chat. What's going on? He says, hello, Billy. But he says, looking good, Ashley. How come I don't get, hey, feeling good, Billy Ray, something like that. You can hit me with something like that too. I get jealous over here. Hey, looking good, Ashley. I'm going to get a lot of that today, most likely. What else we got? Don Lambert is in the chat. What's going on? How are you? Lucky One. Is that you, Lucky?
Lucky. You haven't seen Lucky for a long time.
Is that Lucky for real? Like from TFR? Yeah. Let me know. Well, somehow we got the Rumble stream chat in together with everything here, so I don't have to go to Rumble to see it, which is very cool. I set up a new stream today, and I didn't do anything different, but now it worked for whatever reasons. Lucky, what's up? If that's you, love to see you. Got to talk to you sometime. How are you? Robin Lee is in the chat. What's going on? It is Lucky. How are you, Lucky? Very nice. Awesome. All right. We're going to get cracking, man. We have quite a bit to talk about. The Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know if we want to start off with that, or InfoWars finally being taken over by the Onion of sorts. We don't even know, to be honest, what's going on. I really don't know. Maybe John or Don has or Ashley have some insight there, because I don't know what's going on. They seem to say that they have taken it over. It's going to be 6 months before they do it. Alex is saying that it's nonsense. He was right the last time, even though it was on a technicality, but he was still right. I don't know. Let's go around the panel and talk about this. Let's lead with this, and we'll get into Iran also. Ashley has some thoughts on that. I can't stand Alex Jones. So I don't feel sorry for the guy at all. But I do feel some type of way about this Sandy Hook lawsuit that they hit him with. And my mind is up for change if somebody can present something that changes my mind on this. But I don't know if Alex Jones really did anything wrong. I mean, he was speculating. He was wrong about his speculation. He's even come out and admitted that. Whether people want to admit it or not to themselves is something else. But I don't think he was wrong for saying what he was saying. And I don't remember Alex Jones telling people to go harass, the family members. I don't remember that. Again, I don't know the specifics of the case and what they hit him with, so there's that. But as a result of that, the Onion has been in talks to purchase InfoWars because the family members of Sandy Hook that Alex Jones owes $1 billion to, they want to get paid. Alex Jones hasn't paid a penny. So the Onion wants to step in and give whatever the revenue is to the Sandy Hook families and run InfoWars as a parody site. And they've already kind of started. They're literally turning it gay. Go look, and they're doing this on purpose. Like they turned the whole InfoWars logo, rainbow logo. They're taking stabs at Alex Jones. Then they're not making any bones about it. They're being fully transparent about what they're doing. And again, I don't care about that, but I do feel a little weird about the whole situation with Alex and owing $1 billion for wild speculation nonetheless. But $1 billion, I don't know, man. It's a lot of money. Don Jeffries, what's up?
Yeah, well, I've certainly written a lot about that, and just obviously a very disturbing precedent for free speech. And again, there were no protests. The ACLU, which I was a member of a long time ago, card-carrying member, they don't care about civil liberties anymore. They would have been front and center with that.
Right.
Yeah, it's always been a parody site. Well, yeah, and that's with a guy like Alex Jones. It's hard to tell, but the Onion is, again, demonstrating that there are hardly any kind of anti-establishment. Being so concerned about the Sandy Hook parents who probably, God knows how much money they already have, because they had all this funds set up, which have never been audited. Going back to 9/11, these funds, I've written a lot about that. You can't audit them. You can't find anything about it. I remember when I was writing about Natalie Hollywood, I was trying to find out from the guy who set up that fund. And, he was as rude as could be, and he acted like he was covering up something. I don't know what. So the idea that, this is what the Onion supposedly prides itself on, kind of poking fun at power. That's not doing that there, whatever you think of Alex Jones. But Alex Jones, he hasn't paid a penny because, again, most of us think he's part of this. I mean, he wouldn't have $1 billion if he had. You realize that you talk about jurisprudence, that's the largest award in the history of American, well, all litigation. Nobody's ever been so. Johnson & Johnson killed all those people with their baby powder and all the other things that happened. Nothing. The pennies compared to that. But Alex Jones questioning Sandy Hook, that was the most egregious thing in the history of our legal system, according to the wonderful jurors and prosecution that came up with this great decision. So Alex Jones has been awful for a long time. He became awful when Trump came on the scene. And then he just, stopped talking. But I would suggest his son, Rex Jones, if you see him, he's doing a lot of interviews now. And he sounds a lot like the old Alex. And he was talking the other day about how, this is what my dad used to talk about it back in the day. And he did. And I don't know what that means. But, this is obviously very, very disturbing stuff because it's the same thing with Trump. Whatever you think of Trump, and I certainly have a much more negative opinion of Trump now than when I was a Trump agnostic, but again, that absurd, litigation against him was all ridiculous. That lawfare, you can't award some crazy woman that's completely out of her mind and doesn't even remember the year an alleged rape happened. You can't award her, for whatever it was, 20 million or whatever. You can't have a system like that because all of us are in danger. Because they could bring a woman, from 30 years ago with 40 years ago with me. And say, this was sometime in the 70s. I don't remember exactly when. And based on the Alex Jones precedent here. So it's terrible. Same thing when his assets, when he was, I've been a realtor since 1985. I've never met anybody that didn't brag about their assets and thought their home and everything was worth more than what it is. And you prosecute the guy for that, especially when the people that he was involved with testified for him and said, no, there were no damages. Nothing happened. They still find him like what? And he probably didn't pay anything either, just like Alex Jones did. But the precedent is set. So all these disturbing legal precedents, that's talking about Lincoln and FDR and people like that. When you set the precedent, then all of us are in danger. So when they did that to Alex Jones, the first that came for Alex Jones, I wrote an article once called that. And then it's you can't say this, and that's what we're seeing now. 37 states have passed some kind of law. Analyzing, making it impossible for a company, any kind of company with over like 10 employees or something, basically every employee, to say anything to urge a boycott of Israel. 37 states. That's very dangerous, and that's what we have now. We have this thinking where free speech is under assault as never before. So, as you know, I'm a free speech purist, and I may be the only one left in this country, but I'm going to still defend free speech as long as I can.
Ashley, what's up? What you got?
So this is something that I will be curious to hear what the rest of y'all think, because I felt like, now, Billy, I'm putting on my conspiracy hat here. Forgive me. But I felt like, isn't it weird that we see Alex Jones they're going after Alex Jones and they're kind of, in a way, deplatforming him. And we saw Candace Owens get fired from the Daily Wire, and we saw Tucker get fired from Fox News. And there were various kind of reasons for what transpired with them. But what we saw was, in my opinion, if you were making a rise of Mockingbird 2.0, then that is the precedent, because those are some of the most popular voices, along with Joe Rogan, in the alternative, the mainstream alternative space. So I thought that was convenient. I also thought it was convenient that, yes, like you said, did he actually do anything wrong?
Yeah, I don't know.
I agree with Don. I think it's dangerous. And I think that this is a way to shout down and punish somebody for questioning an official narrative. And as you were saying, like, did he actually want to have people harassed or harmed in any way? It's scary. So there are things that, and I'm not saying that all of those things are what happened, right, with a coordination of Candace, Tucker, Alex, but I just found it to be an interesting timing paired with someone getting one of the biggest punishments ever in regards to what seems to be a free speech issue. And I'm not sure. And I'm curious about how things are going to continue to play out for InfoWars, because even though he did get the major penalty of $1 billion and he was online crying and saying that they were going to shut him down, and here we are all these many months later and it's still operational. So I'm curious to see, is anything actually going to be happening there, or is this really the end for that? And then what does that mean for Alex Jones going forward?
I think it's going to be about 6 months before we see anything, if it actually happens. And then Alex Jones is going to continue under a new name. I mean, the Alex Jones Show, not InfoWars. He's going to do his own thing. He's going to keep going. It's just he's going to lose the InfoWars brand. And again, I'm going to go ahead and plead ignorance on this, because I don't know the specifics. I don't know why they're doing this. I just, at first glance and on the surface level, it seems kind of off to me. But I don't know specifics about it. Now, as far as all the other stuff that Don mentioned about Donald Trump, he did all that shit. All of it. And there is documented proof of all the shit he did.
Yeah, but it's not illegal. Nobody's ever been prosecuted.
It's very illegal. A lot of the stuff that he did was very... Raping somebody is illegal.
How do you prosecute somebody for that?
Raping somebody is illegal. And the only reason it wasn't called rape...
The year that it happened, that's a terrible precedent. Anybody could say that.
The only reason it wasn't called rape is because there's a different standard for rape in New York. Anywhere else, it would have been called rape. What's up, John Brissom? Tell me what's going on. You're muted, sir.
As far as the First Amendment is concerned and defamation in America, we have one of the strictest standards of proof for defamation in America because of our First Amendment. So you would have to prove, for example, that Alex Jones knew what he was saying was a lie, okay? And that he meant to propagate that lie. And then you have to go a step further in that he meant to propagate that lie for some sort of malevolent intent to inflict on, the specific parents of Sandy Hook, right? So you have to prove all of that before you can even get to, did someone defame another person, right? And I would say look, I'm no fan of CMP Alex Jones. I've made that well known throughout. We've read the documents. I've exposed him in I don't know how many streams, okay? But you still have to be able to prove those things for sure in a court of law, to a civil jury, to be able to prove defamation, right? Now, other countries are different. In Japan, if you actually tell something truthful and it harms a person, you could be held legally liable, which is crazy to me, okay? Now, I myself am a strong First Amendment advocate, I'm not an absolutionist. I think there are limits, like child pornography, for example, is a limit that I would, put forth. And actually, a lot of people get it wrong. You can't actually in a theater stand up and yell fire. That was not set as Supreme Court precedents. That was actually in a precedent. That was actually in a briefing that a Supreme Court justice, I don't remember which one, used in argumentation. So that's not even law. You can actually do that. Okay. Now the question again is did Alex Jones defame the Sandy Hook parents? I don't think there was strong enough evidence, and I've looked at all the evidence. I don't think there was strong enough evidence to say that Alex Jones was not a true believer that was presented in the trial to show that he had the purpose of intent of defaming them. I just there wasn't enough evidence for me. Now, is it capable that Alex Jones completely thought it was bullcrap and still spewed it out anyway for money and for ratings? Of course, but they didn't have internal documentation or testimony enough to prove that, in my opinion. Okay, that the settlement for $1 billion, which is the largest settlement of a defamation case against an individual in the world. Now, it isn't the largest case, Don, as far as settlements of corporations. They've been hundreds of billions of dollars. But the single defamation suit, Alex Jones is the largest at roughly $1.5 billion. And so the amount of money is ludicrous. Jones's lawyer was not good at all, like straight up horrible lawyer. And I do think will be used as precedent going forward to weaken our First Amendment rights and protection against reporting and what is defamation and what is not defamation. Okay, I'm pretty sure of that, and that is problematic. So yeah, I mean, do I think that the jury should have ruled against Alex Jones on this? No, I don't. Based off of what I've seen, I don't. I mean, you could convince me otherwise. Show me more evidence. That's what I've looked at. Right. Now, with the Onion situation, will they not? Like you said, Billy, Alex Jones is trying to frame it half naked that this is because Trump is now against him, and therefore this is directly from that. Well, that's awfully fast if that's the case. Not to say that can't be the case, but that's awfully fast as he's shirtlessly ranting in front of who was it? Harrison Smith? Harrison
Smith sitting there scared out of his mind, bro.
So to me, it's like, what are we doing here? Like what part of that's an act? Like Alex Jones, for all intents and purposes, is a comedic jester actor. Okay, let's be real. Now, part of it is he's also insane too. Okay, it's what part's insanity, what part's a jester acting. We can have those debates. All right. But definitely, I mean, what's going on? And I'm no fan either. Tim Heidecker from Tim and Eric Awesome Show, him doing his Alex Jones impression. Heidecker he's go back and watch Tim and Eric. A lot of it's Discordianism. It's not even funny. A lot of it is, I understand pushing the boundaries of comedy. I like stand-up comedy. You know that, Billy. But I mean, a lot of the Tim and Eric stuff that I used to like when I was, a lot younger than I am now, looking back on it, I'm like, this stuff's actually kind of really gross, So him taking over as Alex, I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of want to see it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Did you say Discordianism?
Discordianism, yeah. So it's
that comes from. That comes from the Illuminatus trilogy, which I read and it comes
correct,
from
yes. But there's a religion. But there's
helped set up Oswald.
There's a religion based off of that, Don, that a lot of people practice as far as chaos magic and Discord. They think that they can break reality, but that's exactly where it comes from. Is Robert Anton Wilson? You're 100% right on that.
He got it from Terry Thornley, Oswald's Marine buddy, who wrote a book about Oswald before the assassination, and was very instrumental in setting up the private Oswaldovich and all the other nonsense that he made up. He was part of something.
Agreed. And you can even argue that Alex Jones himself practiced Discordianism with his outright antics and the way that's a whole other discussion. But, but anyway, these people think they can break the fabric of reality by using chaos magic to do that. Stephen Ketamine Bannon is one of the prime examples of that. But for InfoWars, which was a parody of alternative media in and of itself, to be replaced by The Onion, which is a parody, is the utterness of absurdity, in my opinion.
I'm with it. I hope it happens. I'd love to see it happen. I want to see InfoWars burned to the ground. I want to see it gone. That being said, like I said, I don't know too much about the case to see what it seems off to me But is it completely illegitimate? No, probably. And do they have evidence that Alex Jones may have had malicious intent? Man, I spoke to David Knight, right? We've all spoken to David Knight. Spoke to him off air and on air about Alex Jones and his motives. So they got people back there that probably said, yeah, he knew it was bullshit and did it for
but
clicks.
Billy, they weren't able to prove that. They didn't rule.
I mean, I don't know
off
how
that.
you're able to prove that, right?
Well, I mean, you could have internal documentation or eyewitness testimony.
As Jackson T. Barrett says, and he made a good point there in terms of Trump, but it goes for Alex Jones as well. In both of all those lawfare cases, there was no trial. It was an awards. It was basically the judge was ruled in every one of those cases. You can't argue the merits. You can't have a free speech defense, nothing like that. You're guilty, and we're just going to decide how much money you have to pay them. No. So there was no trial. Yeah, Alex Jones would have been great is you could have put those people on trial and showed the helicopter footage where nothing is happening and all the crazy stuff that was going on and the crazy coroner and all that. That would have been great to see on the set. They wouldn't allow that.
I guess.
No, with Don, with Alex Jones, there was a jury. There was a civil jury.
No, there were trials.
Kind of not guilty. The judge said ahead of time he's guilty. All you're going to decide is what is the amount of the award. That's all they decided.
There were trials for all of this, and they were found guilty. There were trials for all of it, right? For all of these things.
But they were found guilty by the judge ahead of time. Read it up.
Go ahead, Don.
In every one of those cases.
But that just goes to the bottom line of it is, and then I'm throwing it to Ash. The bottom line of it is, what do you consider to be evidence? What do you consider to be a trial? Like, did these things happen? Yeah. To me, it happened. They were found guilty. These things happened. But do you accept them is totally different. And that's what I think Jackson doesn't accept these things. There's people that don't accept evidence. They just don't. So it's like, where are we going at that point? But Alex Jones is a piece of filth, so I don't feel sorry for him. I don't, and I hope it all goes away. Look at this stupid ass right here, walking out without a shirt on in front of Harrison Smith. What the hell is this about? The guy's out of his freaking mind. Ashley, before I play the clip, give me some thoughts.
Yeah, it's concerning to me because of what you have already said, what we've already talked about, as far as what does this actually mean as far as our free speech implications or questioning a story, or like what John is saying, reporting on a story in regards to journalism. This is a situation that I feel that I need to do more digging on as far as the trial. Now, this is a conversation that Billy and I had, is that it's easy to make a decision or think that something was a fraudulent trial or whatever based on what we see online. But really, until we dig in and do the work, and like what John was saying, that he read the documents, that then I think we need to do that before we make an opinion, before we form our own opinion as far as what actually happened here. Right. But the forward messaging is that he challenged this, and then he got hit with $1 billion suit. So,
actually, to that point, Alex Jones refused to form any defense when the judges were ruling. He refused to form any defense to turn over the documentation necessary for the judges to make a rule on Alex's defense. His lawyer was horrible. Now, Don is right that he faced a civil jury for the amount, but Alex Jones refused to release anything. So again, we don't even have the appropriate.
He was.
We don't even have the appropriate evidence to rule one way or another.
Yeah.
So what do you think is up with that? Do you think that, like, why? That makes no sense, obviously. So why would this?
The only way it would make sense if he was guilty.
Right.
Well, I think he's part of the thing, because look, I've written about Sandy Hook. Read my article, Sandy Hook, It's Not Irresponsible to Question. I wrote it over 10 years ago. It holds up. I stand behind every word. It's not irresponsible. That's whatever happened. It made no sense. And if you had put that incident on trial, any honest jury would have had lots of questions, and they certainly would have upheld your right into the First Amendment to talk about it. Alex Jones, he had Wolfgang Halbig, and Wolfgang Halbig was marched out of his house at 3 a.m. at 70-some years old with cancer, by people, arresting him for nothing, for trying to, get the United Way. They harassed him when he went up to Sandy Hook and tried to get into the United Way just to see their documents about the fund that was set up. We talked about the funds, these kinds of things. A police chief, a fire chief almost attacked him So why? What is it? What do you know? Why can't this hold it? Why are people saying that they're in the documents there that most of the players in this involved had their, again, I'm a real estate agent. They had their properties granted to them, given to them on Christmas Day. Real estate does not happen on Christmas Day. A bunch, that's what people say. I'm still trying to validate that, but lots of people claim they've seen it. Those are the questions that should be asked. And why, they're just, again, I've studied enough to say, you look at that helicopter footage. That doesn't lie. That's not an opinion. That's not a conspiracy theory. It was taken during the time. You don't see anything. It looks like a day at the park. So just make that make sense to me. Because at that time, I don't think CJ was.
I will say the real estate granting, Don, from what I know, that seemed to be an error with the county that Sandy Hook was in Connecticut, as far as updating real estate tax yearly. From what I've seen, I mean, some of the stuff can be explained. Not all of it.
But a lot to show me that it wasn't isolated to the people that were involved with Sandy Hook. And again,
it was for everybody. They took it out of context. It was specifically for the Sandy Hook families. It was for the other people that lived in Sandy Hook as well too.
Thank you. And a lot of this can be explained is whether or not you accept it. Right? Do we accept the explanations that we get? It's like, are we asking these questions? Yeah, we're asking the questions. We're getting back answers, but people don't accept the answers. So then we're stuck. Right? Because these questions are being asked and they have been explained, a lot of them. And then it's well, that can't be true.
They've been explained Snoop style. But I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I had Dana Duda on my show, and she's done research on Candace Owens, and she claims and found that her father was in charge of the cleanup at Sandy Hook. So again, there's so many connections. And that was the main thing Wolfgang Halbig was trying to find out. Who was the company that did the cleanup? And they wouldn't let him know. And he has a right. This guy that's what he did for a living at one point. So just answer the questions. There's so many questions. And of course, it led to the Boston bombing and all. That's why we question all these things. Now, a lot of the people that don't question that, they certainly question Trump's alleged shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania. Do you recognize all the inconsistencies there? Because they hate Trump so much that, it had to be. And I think it probably was fake. It's the same kind of things you see in all of these cases. But Gabby Giffords actually was the one that started it. And her thing, and I've had Stephanie Sledge, when we can get her connection working, she's done great research on that. But we have to be able to ask, and even if it was irresponsible, all that stuff, you have the right to say that because it's a public event. You're not attacking your neighbor and making up and claiming he's a pedophile or something. You're questioning things that happen with a public event, and that happens all the time. And it should be allowed. So it's whatever Alex Jones is. I just think it's a terrible precedent set in terms of free speech.
I don't disagree there, Don. It's a very slippery slope. As far as Dana Duda goes, I don't know her. I don't know her research. I don't know what she does. I heard her on your show and I heard her on Wheezy's show, and in passing too. I didn't even hear the entire show. But this connection that we're making here, like it's a big deal. And I went back and forth with Wheezy about it. It's like, oh, well, Candace Owens' dad was in charge of something in Sandy Hook. Like, what does that mean? And this is proof for people. It's like, okay, he was in charge of the cleanup. Oh, well, then he was in on it. And Candace Owens was in on it as a result. She has to know and he has to know. It's like, no, it doesn't have to know anything. These are companies that were contracted to do whatever by the government or by whomever. I don't know, but it doesn't prove anything. And that's proof enough for most people who want these things to fit their paradigm, who want these things, who want to accept these things. That's proof enough. It's a loose connection. Solidify the connection. If there's something there, dig for it, try to solidify it. But all that's been said, and I'd love to talk to Dana about this at some point and just tell her, so what does this mean? What does this mean that Candace Owens' dad was somehow working in Sandy Hook during the shooting? He was in charge of the cleanup, let's say, for lack of for argument's sake, he was in charge of the cleanup. I don't even know if that's true, right? But for argument's sake, let's say he was. What the hell does that mean? What does that prove?
It's an interesting connection. I guess we ought to be able to talk about
connections in life, Don. Does it mean that they were actively involved in the cover-up of Sandy Hook, which is what she is alluding to?
We see these interesting connections a lot in these cases. We see it all the time. You see, One of the first people that they went up to in 9/11 on the street in New
Mhm.
York was Rachel Yucatel, who ended up, 10 years later being one of Tiger Woods' most high-profile girlfriends. Is that true? It's possible. But again,
Mhm.
those are the kind of connections we see, and that's why people think they're crisis actors. They're rotated in and out of these things because they keep popping up here or there. I mean, that's what's the guy during Trump's during Charlie Kirk shooting, the guy that first started saying I did it and everything, the crazy guy that
Yeah.
they just kind of ignored.
Right.
Supposedly he was at like 3 or 4 of these different events. I mean, is that possible? Well, maybe, but it's more possible if it's a crisis actor. I mean, that's the questions we should ask because I don't know anybody that just happens to be at these scenes.
Well, let me play Alex Jones. We spent the 30 minutes talking about Alex. It's interesting. It's and we're all involved in this. We're all in this bubble, and Alex has been a central pillar of this for a long time. So it's interesting to talk about and see the demise of this man, the exposing of him. But there's much more important shit going on in the world. It's my fault though, because I brought it up. But here we go.
Take something over and then act like you're somebody, even if you say it's a parody. You can do a parody of somebody, but none of you took something from them.
Right.
You've already checked with lawyers, so they're in deep shit. I'm already suing the Democrat Party law firms. Already got civil rights lawsuits. Do you think, look, just because you're wearing my shirt, don't mean you're me. So let's be 100% clear about that. And so you guys just keep laughing, just like you did a year and a half ago, or it was November 2024.
Mhm.
Was that about a year and a half?
Yeah, this is a story from December 10th. Sale of Alex Jones Infowars to the Onion rejected, and I'll get into this. And
So just, but yeah, they need to be us to confuse people. By the way, it's a total failure. He goes, we're the 5th biggest newspapers. That's a lie. Newspapers are all dead. Okay.
I looked it up. The Onion gets less than half of the traffic that Infowars gets.
And remember, they said they were going to beat Charlie Kirk. Remember when he died? They said they were going to misrepresent fake quotes of him. This is what the left do. They try to silence you, then they misrepresent who you are. Their bodies.
If Harrison Smith, where's Tony? I wish Tony was here. That's Tony's boy. If Harrison Smith had a pair of balls, he'd have just looked at first off, not like scrunching down when Alex comes out. And I understand Harrison that this dude comes out without a shirt. You know what I mean? But I just would have told him, dude, where's your shirt? Go put a shirt on. The hell are you doing? You're not making anything better for yourself walking out here without a shirt on after they just took your entire organization. And you look crazy. I would have told him this on air. Go put a freaking polo on right now. Do it. I know you have one.
But he was going to wrestle Harrison to the ground, Billy, just like he wrestled Russell Brand without a shirt. It's just a couple of Greco-Roman wrestling matches. What's wrong with that, Billy? Getting oiled up and just wrestling half naked.
I stand corrected, John Brissom. If we would have got some Greco-Roman wrestling, I'd have been like, you know what? Maybe we can set it up for UFC and at the White House. They can get.
Why not? The 250th anniversary, right? Why not? Right? Alex Jones versus Tim Heidecker wrestling Greco-Roman style.
So Peter Seakosh in the chat. What's up, Peter? And what's up to everybody in the chat? What's going on? He mentioned the scientists that have been dying left and right, and they're talking about it, right? And Ashley, I think Ashley brought it up. I forgot who brought it up backstage that we needed to talk about it. Now, we've been involved in this for a long time, Don and John and myself. Ashley came a little bit later, so I don't know if Ashley will remember. But am I freaking delusional? Or was this a story 10 years ago?
It was.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I'm like, come on. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, we remember this, right? Or is it the new crop of conspiracy theorists that are buying into it because they haven't heard of it before? But
greatest hits, Billy.
We've been talking about the death of scientists in weird coincidences for at least 15 years.
I wrote about it in Hidden History. I had a whole section on it.
There you go. And when did you write Hidden History, Don?
2014. So it was before then.
I have a crate in my closet full of articles that I had printed out because I thought they were going to go away and I would never see them before. I almost went in there to get this article because I know I printed it out. I got it from Jeff Rentz, I think. Jeff Rentz's site had all the scientists. There was a bunch of scientists that had been dead. We've been running this conspiracy theory over and over again for at least 20 years with zero results. Zero. Nothing has ever come of it. Now it's jumped the mainstream because this is the conspiracy theory administration.
So
and Trump
true.
is like, I will take a look at
So
it.
true.
And now everybody's going nuts about it. This is old. I've seen it before. Show me something new. Show me something with teeth. Just saying.
Well, I have to look. I
David
think they're
Wilcock is
different
not a scientist.
names.
Just saying. What's up, Don? Go ahead.
No, I think they're different names now.
Yes,
They could
I
just be
know.
making all of that up. So, and obviously the dates are different. So, you know, and I don't really understand why they would be doing it, but you know, these are questions that are raised. And you said about no answers. I mean, how do we find answers to anything? Because you have to have some kind of official body rule on something, and Congress is never going to investigate that. No private commission's never going to investigate that. You're not going to win in court on any of this stuff. The court, there's not a courtroom in the world that's going to issue a pro-conspiracy theory ruling on anything. That's just never going to happen. And I certainly wouldn't call Trumpenstein for the last year. He's certainly no conspiracy theory thing other than he's calling the Epstein thing a hoax and that kind of thing. And he recently turned his back on Alex Jones and all these people and lashed out at them viciously again because he's, you know, him and Alex Jones are probably part of the same acting troupe, but Trumpenstein's the star of the show.
Fantastic. Ashley, I'm going to leave you for last because I know you don't. And if I ever find these articles, I'll take some snapshots and send them to you. But this is old news. John Brissom, thank you, because I was losing my mind and I should have went to Don and I should have went to you. But when I'm seeing this roll out, I'm like, I've seen this. We've been talking about this forever. And the thing is, right, is like, are we ever going to get answers for this sort of thing? I think the question we need to ask is, are we ever going to get answers that are suitable to you? You know, if the answer isn't suitable, are you going to accept it? And I mean, I'm talking in generalities here. You know, why did Alex Jones not present the evidence? Right? Either he was in on it, right? Or
he did it with the Wiener laptop, did he? When we looked into them cops, Billy, remember being amplified by CMP Eric Prince, right? Remember?
Right. I remember. I don't know if anybody else does, but I remember.
We believed it, went in trying to prove it.
I did. I believed it, everything about that Wiener laptop. And I remember sitting with John and we were sitting there and I was like, can we trace this back to its source? Where is this coming from? And I think we worked for several weeks trying to figure it out. And,
we did,
and John finally got to it. And I was like, this is all bullshit. Like, and I believed it.
We both did. We both did.
Right. You know, so without
what's bullshit mean? The Hillary Clinton torching a girl on it, or did Anthony Weiner?
Drip, yeah, that was off of 4chan, complete straight up Discordianism, chaos magic, just to push that LARP. But on top of it, it was that the cops died because they had the proof and had seen the evidence on the Anthony Weiner laptop. We traced the individual cops, and we traced. Some of them didn't even die. Some of them were still alive.
What are the odds of somebody named Weiner being the congressman to post pictures of his wiener? I mean, it's like Dwayne Carver and Sandy Hook reporter Dwayne Carver. Really? I mean,
oh man, yeah. Okay, we can't.
I'm not saying he's not guilty of like being a degenerate dog.
Yeah, he's a piece of
what
film,
I'm saying is the narrative that was put forth by CMP Eric Prince right before the 2016 elections.
Right.
Okay. Of the police officers that died in mysterious circumstances, just like these scientists. I'll get to that in a minute.
Right. Thank you. Okay.
Some of them were alive. Some of them died on duty. One or two may have died from suicide, but some of them were years before the Anthony Weiner laptop had even occurred.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Right.
And again, me and Billy 100% believed it.
I believed it.
100%. And then I was like, wait, well, no, none of this is actually wrong.
Let me tell you something, right? I'm glad you brought that up because everybody hits me with TDS, right? When I was talking all this shit about Hillary Clinton, no one said, oh, Billy has Hillary derangement syndrome. And I probably legit did. You know, I blamed her for Trump winning because she's such a lifeless candidate. You know, I was like, she's awful. She's the worst. I believed everything that these people were talking about the Wiener laptop. And then to a point that I was like, we got to prove this out because this is just people saying stuff. And John and I sat down and did it. That's part of the breaking out of this whole thing.
I wonder if we could even replicate it now. I mean, we could probably look back and look at our text messages. Maybe. I mean, I would assume they're still on my phone. I still have my own phone.
You still have it. That's fine.
I'd have to look and see. But I mean, it's the same with these scientists. Who built the list? UFO promoters on X.
Right.
Who pushed it? The Daily Mail.
Boom.
Which is right-wing pushed. Okay. Who amplified it? Joe Rogan.
Right.
Why? Because Peter Thiel, for whatever reason, wants this to be pushed for Palantir and Angel Industries. I don't know exactly why. But when you look into the list, a lot of them are scientists.
Right.
And one of the deaths was a janitor. And I'm not saying the janitor may not have stumbled upon something, as Canary Cry Radio is talking about, maybe. But like, when we really look, a lot of them were scientists and authors. And I get it. Not everybody there's autodidacts. I'm an autodidact with natural health. Okay. I get it. But it's to serve a purpose. Now, what that purpose is, maybe they're setting up for some sort of false alien invasion, Project Bluebeam. Maybe they're setting up for, as Wheezy said in the chat, shout out to Wheezy, the great awakening. I don't know. Okay. All I know is this thing's an op. It's an op. And the thing is us and maybe I'm not part of this anymore. I don't know. But because people in the conspiracy and the alternative media realm, they take what people say on X and they run with it without not even looking these names up and doing very much critical thinking.
Absolutely.
It's the same with what we used to believe and do with the officers that died because of the Anthony Weiner laptop billing.
100%.
And they run with it without not. So that's all I got. That's all I got to say.
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. Ashley, what do you think of all of this?
Well, I think that it goes back to what we were talking about yesterday, is that when we get information online, that information is being fed to us from an algorithm. So I think that the issue of manipulation is something that we need to keep in mind. Why is this being shown to me? Now, maybe it is a legitimate issue, whatever, but I'm saying that I mean this for myself too, that I need to get better about checking this stuff to see what's really surrounding the issue. So there has been a ton of hullabaloo about the scientists, right? And so I was listening to Brad Binkley's analysis on this, and he said that like what you're talking about, that some of the scientists that are being brought into this story were, like, one of them was considered it was documented that he had an alcohol problem. He was considered morbidly obese, and he was on his death certificate, it said that it was like natural causes by cardiovascular disease or something like that, and that his family had not been questioning the nature of his death. And he died in, like, it was a few years ago. It wasn't before this recent kind of the more recent deaths, but they're all kind of being herded to get together. And there was another lady that passed in maybe like 2022 or 2023. So he was saying the same thing, is that these things are being all lumped together as a narrative management or as a distraction. Not really sure exactly why, but then Peter Doocy is asking these questions to the press secretary, and he works for Fox, and they're talking about it on Fox, and then so it just makes me wonder why. And maybe it is like what you were talking about earlier, John, that it's just a chaos, a distraction. It's just keeping people like completely divided or focused on something else, or maybe it's preparing for disclosure. I don't know, but I just think that I personally need to do better about checking into this stuff and getting those facts for myself. When did they pass? Is there any suspicion on the part of the family? And the overall picture is, why are we being shown this stuff? Like, why is it being promoted in the algorithm? Why are they talking about it on Fox? What does this actually mean for us, if anything?
Well, to your point, Ashley, I didn't want to say
let me get done in. Let me get done in.
I want to go after Don real quick and say one last thing.
Oh, all right, say one last thing, and then we'll get done to close it out. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, in alternative media, we start realizing that when narratives are being spun around in X and on social media and stuff like that and everything, why are we not skeptical that these things are being pushed to us? Why do a lot of people immediately buy it without looking at it and just run? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, right. What if that's an op in of itself?
Right.
Like, and again, another thing too is most of, again, something you've always said, Billy, something you always talked about. we get most of our information from the news media,
Of course.
from the fourth estate.
Right.
Okay. And again, like, is that controlled or not? Like, what are we doing? And then on top of even that, like, they would not even have to report on it if they didn't want us to know about it. You guys understand that? Like, if why is this out there? And we have the Disclosure movie coming out. We have David Wilcox's so-called or a suicide, or assassination, depending on who you believe. And it's being built around him for all these scientists and stuff like that. And David Wilcox was a true believer, nonsense driver, bullcrap artist and grifter.
Absolutely.
So this is where we're at, like, to me, I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's an operation, or it's natural and it's being driven by algorithms, and to what end to push, I don't know yet. And for people just to buy it hook, line, and sinker and not objectively look at it. And that's one of the main issues with, now since everybody, as Alice Bailey would say, is being initiated into the mysteries for the Great Awakening, the false Great Awakening. All right. Now everybody's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Everybody is a conspiracy theorist. You're absolutely right. Don Jeffries, I'm going to give you closing thoughts on this, buddy. Go ahead.
Well, I think, and I certainly understand, and there are so many disinfo artists out there. And, I come from the JFK community from decades ago. I was awake when very few of us were. We had a very small community then.
Right.
And even then you had disinfo agents in the midst. You have them everywhere. 9/11 was still within the UFO community. They're everywhere. So, and we don't know if they're just mistaken or they're being funded, like Cass Sunstein wanted to do. But my concern is that we end up saying we disprove this and that. And a lot of times I wouldn't trust anything that any establishment source says. They lie about everything. So if they tell me something's been debunked, I just assume it has not been debunked, because they have never told the truth about anything in my lifetime.
But they're pushing this, Don. They're not debunking it. That's the issue. They're pushing it. The mainstream media is
they're pushing it too. But when they say it's been debunked, it's not. So again, there may be elements,
but they're not saying it's debunked. They're actively pushing it. Fox News, for example, is actively saying this is true and this is going on. They're not debunking it. They're agreeing with conspiracy theories that this is happening.
Well, you're talking, I think, about the missing scientists. They are pushing that. But the problem is that what happens is, when I think we run the risk of, again, understanding that we are being run by mobsters who have less principles than real mobsters do in real life, than the mafia does. And they have no scruples about anything. They don't care about killing kids like real mobsters might, that kind of thing. We know they're cannibals, apparently, according to the Epstein files, unless that's all fake too, which maybe it is. But why do they want us to think they're cannibals? So these are horrible, horrible people. We know they've lied about everything from the JFK assassination. Well, before that, but let's just say JFK assassination on. They haven't told the truth about anything. They're not telling the truth about Charlie Kirk. The most recent example. So I just don't want us to get lost and say, well, okay, then because this and that means that, so-called conspiracy theorists are no good. People are conspiracy theorists because they have no power. People are sitting in their basements where they don't have a subpoena power. They don't have a big media outfit behind them. All they can do is speculate. Mark Lane wrote, when he wrote Press to Judgment, my mentor, my hero, when he wrote that in his introduction, he included the line, where, because there's been no investigation of this murder of a president, the ground is ripe for speculation. And that's been the case ever since then. We're going to speculate. You're going to try to figure out, because that's all people do.
But isn't informed speculation important, Don? There's difference between anybody can speculate anything using intuition, right? But isn't informed speculation better than just regular speculation? I'm not against informed speculation at all, but I'm against speculation for speculation's sake.
That's kind of a subjective term. What is informed? I mean, they've studied something to come to this conclusion. You may not like their sources, whatever. My concern, I said again, is that we throw all this out and we end up liking this. That was my concern with Trump derangement syndrome for a long time, until I may have a case of it myself. I don't know, but the other side is horrible. So what happened is the other side started looking good. Oh, this guy's so evil and everything. Maybe Hillary isn't that bad. Maybe the Clintons didn't kill all these people. That kind of stuff. Or, maybe the Obamas, they're cool. Maybe their chef died naturally, drowning like that, that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm concerned with. They're all criminals. Trump was a false character. As I said, he was an actor the entire time. And so he's turned out, obviously, I think most people are realizing that now. But none of these people should. There's not one person today that has any power. In my most recent Substack, I talk about that. We're just, we're the only ones that can fix this. And by coming together, millions of people have to come together and say, stop the corruption. That's all. Because any kind of leader that gets corrupted, power corrupts. So that's all my, I don't, so when you say, well, this, that, okay, I understand that. But the overall narrative is true that these people are criminals. They're conspirators by any definition. They conspire all the time against the interest of the people, and they lie about it. And then we have to try to figure it out. And then they have all kinds of people like Snopes and the mysterious fact checkers and all these people who can jump right out and say, no, I mean, they fact checked me plenty of times. And they were wrong. But, that's what they do. They have the power, more power than we do. So that's all I'm saying is that I don't like the fact that, because then we end up supporting whatever these conspiracy theorists are, however many of them disinfo agents, Alex Jones, any of these people, we know that the people in charge are absolutely evil. They're almost certainly satanic. They seem to be cannibals. So the last thing I'm going to do is throw anything in there where it's bad enough that they're having sex with kids, but apparently they're eating them too. So, if you want to, I don't think any conspiracy theorist could be responsible. I don't believe it.
But Don, is the mainstream media always wrong?
Yes.
Always.
They've never been right about anything.
So there's never. So for example, Paul Rodriguez in the Mooney Washington Times, which is CNP controlled, is actually a story about call boys in the White House. He was incorrect about that.
Once in a while, they let a story like that get through. And what happened? Craig Spence killed. I wrote all about that in Hidden History. You had a bunch of deaths. It went away. And the Epstein files show that George H.W. Bush was still having sex with underage black boys, because you had a report on the yacht, which they talked about now, but he was on the yacht doing it. Same yacht where they saw them eating the entrails of dead babies. I mean, this is a report. Read the Epstein files. These are people reporting. Maybe they're making it all up. I don't know. But that's two different references to George H.W. Bush with an underage
I didn't believe
black
George
boy.
H.W. Bush was a pedophile according to the Franklin scandal. I agree. I don't necessarily believe the Epstein documents themselves, because of the sources of where that came from was a guy that was put forth by Thomas Paine. I forgot his name offhand.
It was a third party source too. It was
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, though, I mean, we all reference in the alternative media, even in your book, I would assume we reference mainstream media reports sometimes.
Sometimes they're the only source. Sure, of course.
They are the sole source. That is
right.
it. A conspiracy theory. People in our community say it all the time. If you don't turn on the television, if you get off of social media, nothing's wrong. Nothing's going to happen, right? Because if you don't see it, that means it's not there. But everyone that tunes into a podcast, the majority, 99.9% of the people that have podcasts in the alt media are not investigative journalists. They are regurgitators.
Correct.
They read the information from Drudge or anywhere else and then put their own spin on it, or they read it from other people that have their frame of mind. Like they'll go to Technocracy News and Trends. I did that forever. Or I'll go to InfoWars or DavidIke.com and read that. Where do you think they're getting it from? All of this stuff comes from the mainstream. It's this big like pushback. Oh, no, it doesn't. I don't listen to the mainstream. Yeah, you freaking do, bro. That's exactly where it comes from.
That's all we can do, though, is get our sources.
If we don't put in the work to try to weave through this, you're gonna get lost inevitably. My whole issue is, right, I don't have a problem with educated speculation, right? It needs to be presented as such. But I do have a problem when that speculation is taken as proof. And people are like, that's what it is. Look at that. Like Dana Duda, look at this link. There must have been something going on with Sandy, with Candace Owens and Sandy Hook. Try to prove that for real. If you're going to make such a claim, try to prove it. And this is the problem in the alt media. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don, and then we'll get.
When you talk about podcasters, all of us, any of you, every one of my books, it's sourced in Peter Seacott.
But Don, I consider you to be an investigative journalist. You've actually interviewed people, so we're not talking.
Well, yeah, that's right. But the problem is, I'm limited in what I can do because most of them,
we all are. Me as an investigative journalist and interviewing people, they won't
answer your calls. I mean, they're most of the time, I know. Their phones have been disconnected almost every time. Very seldom. I mean, when I called Timothy McVeigh's father, and he actually answered the phone. I was very rude. but I had about 30 seconds maybe. He instantly knew where I was coming. No. He didn't want to, even though I'm trying to, hey, let me just send my son up. Not interest. Just like Seth Rich's parents want to sue you if you question anything about that. So because they're all in on it. I mean, apparently they've all been, bought off. But so there's only so much we can do. They're lucky they answer my emails. If you read American Memory Hole, you see, I was finally able to get a hold of the Todd Bergen, the Coast Guard petty officer, who gave an interview about JFK's junior's.
But Don, but by you doing that, you're doing more than. Well, Billy's right. Me as an investigative journalist, and me investigating the finders and tracking down sources and getting documents and talking, that's gumshoe journalism, right?
Yep.
Most of the alternative media ain't doing that. Most of them are just
I know.
regurgitating talking points from other alternative media sources, from algorithm news that they're being fed. And I'm not saying I'm not necessarily against regurgitators if they do inform speculation to the best of their ability. I don't have a problem with that. But the thing is the art of investigative journalism, as you well know, Don, is dead.
Of course. It is. And that's why we're trying to fill the void, because we don't, if we had, there would be no need for any of these podcasts, except for I could maybe host a podcast about sports or entertainment or something. People you could do that, but fluffy stuff. But the only reason we do this is because we don't have journalists. We don't have a real Woodward and Bernstein. We haven't had it since they killed Dorothy Kilgallen. And after she was the only journalist investigating the JFK assassination. Nobody investigates this stuff. Tanny, that has the standing of a mainstream journalist. The Washington Post, the New York Times, they cover this up always, and they try to paint people like us kooks. But if they did their job, we wouldn't have to do it. I wouldn't have written any of my books because there wouldn't be any hidden history. The students would have told the truth.
We have Wayne Manson with balls of steel. I'm not saying that everything he does is right. He's probably wrong 9 times out of 10.
He is an investigative journalist.
He is an investigative journalist. I remember I saw him outside of a 9/11 Truth rally years and years ago.
You mean Wayne Madsen? Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
He is an investigative journalist.
And he rolled up to me and gave me his card. He's like, here. And it said investigative journalist on it. I have it somewhere still in my closet.
He's done some good work, but he also, you could have talked to him about Trump, because he had Trump derangement syndrome for a real long time.
He did. He was one person that was, look, I respect Wayne's work. I don't agree with him all the time.
Me neither.
But he was one that was on straightly, just like, if anybody, I won't call it Trump derangement syndrome, but he hated Trump. He hated Trump so much to the detriment of his own reporting.
It's called Trump reality syndrome, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but it depends on how you frame it. Like, he was purposely being like as hateful as he possibly come, wishing death upon Trump, pretty much. So,
should we be hateful towards pedophiles? Should we be hateful towards pedophiles?
Wishing death in the manner of what he was doing, as a Christian, I can't.
Should
justice be done? Wishing death like that?
I'm not for the death penalty. But there are plenty of people out there that would implement the death penalty on pedophiles, bro. Especially to the level that Trump was involved. So if you hate pedophiles and you don't hate Donald Trump, there's something wrong.
All I'm saying is the way that he conducted himself and the way he would yell in all caps paragraphs about how much he disliked Donald Trump. That's detrimental to his investigative journalism. As far as standards and norms, because anybody who looked at that would be upset about that.
Probably that turned a lot of people away because people had legitimate Trump enablement syndrome, right? It was the 5th generation warfare that was going on. So he probably turned a lot of people away. That's probably not the best way to go about it, but it's hard to deal with something like that. He's not a psychologist. He's an investigative journalist, and he saw something that was wrong and he called it out. And so I'm like James Carville. We want more Trump derangement syndrome. More. I want more. Give me more hate. Put it in my veins. I hate pedophiles. I hate people that try to take my freaking health care. I hate people that execute Americans on the street. I hate people that want to get rid of my democracy. Fuck that. I hate that guy. He can go to hell. I don't believe there's a hell, but if there is one, he can go there. Okay? And that's just the end of it. And I don't make any excuses for hating pedophiles like Donald Trump. And if you do, there's something wrong with you. Just not you or any of you here. I'm talking in generalities here. Okay. Don Jeffries, excellent points today. It is 1:00. If you two want to stick around with me for 15 minutes, because I want to shout out the chat and maybe we could talk about Southern poverty for a little bit. But Don, I know you got to go. If you want to stick around, that's fine. But I know you got to go. Tell the people where they can find you, sir.
The only place that people were talking about X and Twitter, I don't know what's going on in X because they've effectively drummed me out of there. They hacked my account. I can't get it back. Elon Musk has nothing but AI support. They're worthless. They will not
Sounds
listen to
about
what you're
right,
saying. So there's nothing. So Elon Musk could hire at least one human in there, but he can't do it. So I guess I'll never get my X account again back. I'll probably have to start over again, which I hate doing. So Substack is the only thing. Donald Jeffries at Substack.com. I protest just like my podcast. That's the only place to really that you can find me uncensored. Facebook still shadow bans me too. They got this new thing where we can only reply sometimes. It's ridiculous. It gets tiresome, the games they play, but somebody's doing it. The shadow banning is real. I can testify to that for sure.
That is absolutely true, sir. Excellent points today. Thank you for having this discussion with us. It was a fantastic show. Are you going to be on with RB?
No, not tonight. Not tonight. He's in the chat. I saw him. I don't know. Not tonight. I was on last Sunday, but most of the time I'm on Saturdays, but not this one.
All right, buddy. Go get some rest.
Okay,
NFL
thanks,
draft.
Don.
Place. I gotta
Good
hit
seeing
you up.
you guys. Take care.
I gotta hit you up about the NFL draft later. You tell me who to pick. What happened? Later, Don. Take it easy. All right. And for the record, if Donald Trump was dying, I would save him. Okay. I don't hate him that much. If something was wrong with him, like if he was on fire, I'd put him out. I'd drop some water on him. I might poke at him a little bit.
You slowly do it until he roasts enough. Slowly.
We got to make his skin legitimately orange. So, we'll do that for him. But yeah, I really, if there's a human being I don't like, it's that guy. And I think I've been vindicated as to why. So there's that. All right. Do we want to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center, or do we want to just shout out the chat and get out of here? We have 15 minutes.
Now let's talk about the SPLC real quick. I'm down.
Okay, go ahead, buddy.
So the Trump administration, with acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, brought a lawsuit against the Southern Poverty Law Center, indicating them of using various shell companies throughout the years to fund informants within various right-wing groups, including the KKK, including Unite the Right rally, including National Socialist Party of America, and etc.
Right.
And so they stated that they believe that the Southern Poverty Law Center is defrauding their donors because these people are going against what the Southern Poverty Law Center claims that they are against, which is to stop the spreading of hate, continuing to spread hate afterwards. It wasn't like they stopped being part of these organizations. Some of them were as high as the Grand Imperial Wizard, the KKK.
Right.
So that is what they are implying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the SPLC did release a 2014 membership list for the Council for National Policy many years ago, and the CNP is probably still steamed off about that, I would assume. And I'm not defending the SPLC, but at least that might be some sort of reason why the Trump administration has gone after the SPLC specifically.
Right.
Okay. And you also have the back and forth of January 6th and the events of January 6th as well, too. They're using a claim as the reason why. That's really what the case is. You guys have any thoughts? I mean, I'll talk about it later, but that's what we have. So
no, absolutely. I'm gonna give it to Ashley.
Was I wrong? Anything I said, Billy? Did I cover it?
I don't think so. It sounded about right to me. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah. So again, this is something else that we were discussing. So my biggest question is, what is the play here? So I think that John brought an interesting consideration, whether that is something to do with the CNP or whether this is what the Trump administration has been accused of quite a lot, which is going after their political enemies. Yep. And then, but really, I have more questions. So what is really the function of the SPLC? Like, they're supposed to be, standing against hate, basically. Do you feel that they were successful in doing that? Was this a placeholder organization? What is the fallout here, do you think? I mean, I really don't know. And this is another issue that I need to do more digging in personally, but I have questions.
I would say that if you're asking for my personal opinion, first of all, this has to be proved that they actively defrauded their
Donors.
Their donors, that their
Right.
donors would not want this to occur. Now, they did shut it down, supposedly. It's argued of how, when they shut it down. Tom Blanch says his latest 2022. We really don't know per se. We have to see the evidence of how it's presented in court. We'll have to see if the prosecutors have witnesses that the SPLC directed them to continue to do what they do within their organization, specifically for intent. The case is not cut and dry and can literally go either way. Now, are you asking me, every organization, for the most part, when it comes to investigating, would put forth informants, right? And you even see that in law enforcement, but it does skirt the idea, in my belief, of ethics when law enforcement use informants, for example, when they put police officers in as informants in criminal organizations, and the depths that the informants, even especially when they're police officers, break the law when they're deep undercover, right? Like, where's the moral and ethical line, right? And so the same thing could be said for the Southern Poverty Law Center. Where's the moral and ethical line of them using informants, especially like the Imperial Wizard of the KKK, that, was getting paid to give them information back? Well, they were still performing services of the Imperial Grand Wizard of the KKK, which would be spreading hate and radicalizing people, according to the SPLC, right? So again, like, where is the line for that? That's, again, but can you prove that that's defrauding, which is what the Trump administration is trying to prove, right? And so there's other issues as well too. I don't want to go too deep into it of whether it can be, specifically proven or not, of what the Trump administration, they have to prove malice on the behalf of the SPLC. But ethically and morally, I would say that it's wrong what they were doing. But I mean, legally, don't know yet. Depends on the evidence the Trump administration has. And again, they did convene a grand jury in the headquarters of the SPLC, which is Birmingham, Alabama, unlike the other grand juries that the Trump administration was bringing forth that were not in the areas of where they did the indictments. For example, if Comey, for example, was in, and it was not done in the manner that this was. So they had a grand jury of people from Birmingham, Alabama, to indict the SPLC with the evidence that they were shown. So that could mean the case could be more like built. Maybe. I don't know. We shall see. Right. Yeah. And so that's pretty much all I have to say on it. It could go one way or the other. It could completely fall apart like all other ones have gone, or this one could have legs. I don't know.
I think they're going to have a really hard time trying to prove this out, right? And my biggest issue is the way it's been painted. Jackson Barrett in the chat is the prime example of this. So either he's trolling again, or he really believes this, and that's the issue, with no real proof. And I'm trying to find.
Oh, you mean the narrative? That's my issue. Is this one of my main issues? Is the spin. So the spin is everybody.
What Jackson is saying right now.
Everybody at Unite the Right was a Fed. Everybody at Unite the Right was a leftist. Everybody at Unite the Right, there was no genuine right-wing people there that just wanted to push National Socialism and neo-Nazi type beliefs. And that framework that it's all just leftist, subvertants is false. Straight up false. Okay. So, again, you did have Fed informant David Duke at Unite the Right, but no one's talking about that. So, I mean, that's the spin, is that this proves that there are no right-wing agitators and there's no right-wing true believers that just believe this stuff. It's all left-wing agitators and left-wing true believers that are getting paid to do all these things, which is objectively false.
Right. It's bullshit. And this is what it's being, and this is how it's being presented by Todd Blanch, without really, until he's pushed on it. Then he talks about the actual suit, right? He talks about the actual situation, that it's fraud that they're trying to get at. It's technicalities that they're trying to push at in order to push their agenda. You want to talk about lawfare? This is it. and what they did with Letitia James, whether you like her or hate her, it all fell apart for a reason. James Comey, it all fell apart for a reason. They didn't have anything. So it's going to be incredibly difficult to prove this. But what they are able to do is continue to rage bait people that want to subscribe to this stuff. And they want to find evidence that it's all the left doing all of this stuff. Right. And so they'll hold on to that. And as you've seen, and probably everybody in the chat, you've seen it throughout, on social media and everywhere else. People are like, yeah, look, it's them all along. They've been funding the racists. They've been funding the hateful people. They've been funding the riots. It's them all along. That's not even what the freaking case is about. It's not. It's something completely different altogether. They're alleging fraud, because of some of this stuff. So I think they're going to have a real hard time proving this out, and the psychological warfare continues on the people of the United States of America as a result. And Ashley, did you get a chance to talk about this? I don't know if you did or didn't.
Yeah. Well, I asked a couple questions about,
right.
That to John and just like what's going on here. And I think
right.
it remains to be seen situation.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what develops if they actually have any proof to prove out any of this stuff. But what we do have is that Kash Patel said that the Southern Poverty Law Center was awful, pretty much. He hated them and he severed ties with them because they had a relationship with the FBI for years and years and years and years, and the Trump regime of 2024, 2025 severed ties with the Southern Poverty Law Center. So there, and a lot of people in the administration have been singled out by the Southern Poverty Law Center as well. And these are probably the reasons that they're attacking. I mean, everybody saw it coming. Anybody who was paying attention to the situation, they saw that the Southern Poverty Law Center was in the crosshairs of the Trump regime. And here it is. There'll be more. They're already talking about treason with Obama, brother, right?
Yeah, Trump posted that about treason about Obama and Hillary Clinton. Right. And I just want to mention one thing about Unite the Right. One last thing is, it was a mixture and hodgepodge of true believer conservatives, alt-right members, white nationalists, whomever, in combination with, Fed informants and actors of all kinds, right? Like, you're never going to be able to parcel through what's what, and all sides try to label one side or the other as something.
Right.
Okay. And I just want to make that known, because it's just like January 6th and what was involved with all that. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to paint it one side or the other, depending on what side you're in. When it was a melu mixture of different, you had people there that were MAGA. You had people there that were alt-right. You had people there that were just reporting on it. You had people there that were feds. You had, it was a mixture. And all side wants to point blame at each other instead of realizing that there's nuances in both instances. And I'm not excusing what happened at Unite the Right. And I'm not excusing what happened at January 6th. I'm just trying to be objective about it. Right. And I will say this, it's extremely disingenuous to point both January 6th and Unite the Right as all leftist Soros paid informants. That's ridiculous.
I agree 100. So we got 5 minutes and then we're getting out of here. Ashley has to go do Knights of the Storm and everybody else has to go live their lives. Tune in to Knights of the Storm today, 2 p.m. Eastern. Ashley's got a whole thing planned with Karen Carpenter. Shouts to Karen. Also, Wheezy should be going on at 5 p.m. So go tune into Wheezy's show, What is Truth podcast. All right. Let me go over shout out some of the people. I'm going to do the Apple reviews and then we're getting out of here. We'll do that in 5 minutes. I promise. Knights of the Storm. What's going on? How are you? Raybo is in the chat. What is going on? Hope you're doing well. Yona, what's going on? How are you? Jackson T. Barrett, what's going on, buddy? How are you? Harps is in the chat in fictional Australia. How are you? Skunk Hollow Rose Garden. What's going on? Bronx Stompers. What's up? How are you? Marco, what's going on? Thank you for being here. Birdhouse Blues. I love Japan. I love Japan too. I love Godzilla. I want to go to Japan one day. All right. What else? These are repeat offenders over and over. I know Karen was in the chat. Gart Goldsmith was in the chat. Bart Duper. What's going on, Bart? How are you? And I'm gonna keep looking for a little more of my boy Kenny Powers. What's up, Kenny? How are you? Always making me laugh in the chat. What's up? Peter Seakosh, how are you? How's he doing? Well, how's the guy doing? How is Twisted? I didn't see Twisted in the chat, but I'm gonna give him a shout anyway. Colin Wise on what's going on? Little John, what's up, Little John? Hope you're doing well. Bebe, what's up, Bebe? He's funny too. Bebe's pretty funny. Piper Fogel was in the chat. She asked me if I support Mockingbird Media. I don't, but I'm sure you and I can sit down, Piper, and all of your beliefs, I'll trace them back to the Mockingbird Media. I am 100% positive. Go to one of these betting sites. Go to Polymarket. Bet everything you got that I can do it because I can. All of you, all of your beliefs will push them right back to the mainstream. Then it's up to you to accept it. That's something completely different. All right, who else is in here? I don't know. Okay, whoever else is in here that I don't get to, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We got about 75 people over at Rumble and 103 collectively across platforms on everywhere else. What's up? Okay, fine. I'm going to read these reviews. You guys are free to criticize, but please say what's up to the people that left the reviews. Okay, here's one. I'm here for the TDS support group. It says and this is Rain. Apparently, it says I believe Trump is an actor to the extent that his personality was manufactured for television long ago. The present buffoonery is an amalgamation of a lifetime of genuine evil, loosely veiled by the same manufactured personality, terminal narcissism, and hold on, there's more, terminal narcissism and the unchecked power of the presidency. I think that's 100% right. Welcome. How are you? Babylonian mystery school level intellect reflected there. And only thing I got to tell you is this isn't going to be a TDS support group. This is a TDS enablement group, at least from me. I am not going to do anything to veer you off from your path. I will just continue to feed information, truthful, factual information about this piece of filth. And that's not going to make it any better. Thank you for listening to America Unplugged. Ashley, say hello to them. Don isn't here. Tony's not here, but I'm sure they want to hear from you. So say what's up to Rain.
Say what's up to who? To the
Rain. Her name is Rain.
Oh, Rain. Hi, Rain. Hello.
She left a review on Apple Podcasts. This is what we're doing right now. So
thank you for your review. And while I'm here, I'm just going to say, if you leave the show a 5-star review, then they will read it on the air at the end. Right. And the only subject that you're not allowed to talk about is Tony's dog Beans in a negative way. Otherwise, you can criticize the rest of the cast. So don't forget to leave a review.
Right. Well, this is what they're doing. They're leaving reviews. We got 3 of them, 4 of them actually, but I don't have the other one. John, say what's up to Rain.
Glad to be here. We all know that Billy is paid by the CIA as part of Operation Mockingbird. And so that's definitely why I've seen the CIA dated checks. Right. So, I'm glad to be here, you guys. Thank you for having me on. It's been great.
And Billy's CIA money is why he's able to buy so much Junior's cheesecake.
Yes. That is true, yes.
Exactly.
It's very suspicious otherwise.
George Soros,
he's going to be 400 pounds soon.
George Soros came through. Donald Trump did not. I've been waiting for my Doge check forever. George Soros is at least giving me some money. So thank you, George Soros. Okay. There's another one. It's from not on the Epstein list. Truth, 5 stars. Thank you. It says, great show. I hope achy breaky dem heart Billy Ray Cyrus understands that this was going to happen with Iran, no matter what America election is actually, the American election is actually a selection. Admit, Billy, that the achy breaky heart line was solid. Ha ha ha. Agree with you on several issues, and thank you for your insight. Don and Tony, appreciate you as well. Well, thank you. You know, that achy breaky heart line almost cost you your initiation into the Babylonian mystery schools, but we're going to let that one slide. That was pretty corny. It was a dad joke. We're going to let it slide, though. We're going to let it slide. Thank you for listening to America Unplugged. Of course, I don't think that this would have happened. They had 4 years with Biden. Hate him as much as you do. He didn't get us into another forever war in Iran. this is a disaster. What's going on over there? So no, I don't think that would have happened. This is brought to you by Donald Trump, and exclusively by Donald Trump. This particular chapter in this disaster that we've created over in the Middle East. But other than that, fantastic. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Ashley, say what's up.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I wish that I had more hard-hitting, deep-diving information to add to the conversation today, which I really didn't, but I'm happy to be here, happy to be part of that. And yeah, like Billy was saying, check out Knights of the Storm, 2 p.m. today. And I started my own show, Think, Change, Repeat. So I've been going live on Thursdays. I may adjust my time, but right now I'm on Rumble, YouTube. So feel free to check it out. Hit me up.
Fantastic. And thank you for your appearance. It was awesome as usual. Thank you. Tune in to Knights of the Storm in a sec. In about 30 minutes. That's what I call a sec. You know when it is 2 p.m. Eastern. Go tune in over there. If you need to leave, Ashley, go ahead. I got one more review to do. And I'm forcing John to stick around for the next 10 minutes. You can leave if you wish. You can stay if you wish to.
I'm good. I'll hang out.
See how he treats me?
It's very rude, John. I feel so bad for you.
He doesn't have a choice in the matter. Okay, last one. Good to know I'm not alone. He said, I love the different views all you have. Great team. Never miss an episode. But I beg you, Don, get a better microphone, please. Have you ever listened to yourself? The audio is terrible. But all are great together anyway. Okay, well, thank you so much.
I'm defending Don here.
Yeah.
The microphone brings a certain boomer aesthetic that is desperately needed with all us millennials here and Gen Xers. Okay. So I'm defending Don and his mic. I'm defending it. All right. To the death. Good.
We're working on the audio visual department here at America Unplugged is working on trying to rectify the situation over there, man. But man, working remotely, it's tough. I don't know what the hell's going on. Sometimes it sounds great and sometimes it goes. Thank you for bearing with us through all of that. We're actively working on it. I don't know if it's going to be successful, but we are. Thank you for leaving the review also. Good, sir. All right, Johnny, tell them where they can find you, buddy.
Yeah, you can find, we read the documents on YouTube and Substack. Great to be here with you, Billy and Ashley and Don. And Billy, we're going to have to do another part of MAGA rap because our favorite, Brock Lesnar, met with Tom McDonald and some pictures were taken and some nice words were exchanged. And Brock Lesnar talked about how him and Sable bump Tom McDonald every time they get in the truck, brother. Every time they get in the truck, they bump them some Tom McDonald. All right. So we definitely we
need to do that. First off, that shows incredibly bad taste in music. Second, Brock Lesnar has also been accused of sexual inappropriateness with in particular, taking a crap on a woman.
That is,
I don't know if that was Vince or Brock, but they were both involved there.
That is true.
So, birds of a feather is what I'm saying. Regardless, all right, let's get up out of here. I'll be tuned in tonight. Everybody in the chat, we love you and appreciate you. Everybody that's listening after the fact on Apple Podcasts, what is going on? Thank you so much. Make sure you leave a review, 5 stars. We'll talk about whatever you want if you leave 5 stars, except for Beans the Brave, Ashley. Let's get up out of here. We are out. No music today. We're just leaving. Bye. Boom.